Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Esoteric Moon. Double the Archangel URIEL. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And I apologize for not going live the other day. Because y'all know my little, my soul group know that I had surgery on my stomach. So, you know, they did the wrong thing. So I still got kind of like air through the bowels. And this week, I ate too much salt. But it really wasn't the salt. Is I drank too much pop. But the salt added on to it. Like I ate a few cucumbers this week. I like to add salt and vinegar on it and things of that nature. And then I ain't had my juices like I usually have. So I was just going off spur of the moment, not really thinking a lot of times and being dehydrated. And then I was just going towards drinking the pop. So yeah, I had to go to the hospital and get that flushed out because I was having stomach complications and things. So, you know, but I want to talk about the flat earth and the globalist argument and how it's pointless. And what you're gonna understand out of this whole thing is they're lost in the word earth and they're lost in the physical. Both of them. Anybody having a debate about earth being flat or round, and the reason why they're having a debate is because they're confused amongst the right and left brain when it comes to the word earth. Now, before we get into this, I'm not telling you who to listen to or who not to listen to. I'm just basically giving you perspective right now. Now, and how they're talking past each other. Because you have a flat earther who will tell you that the earth, which is the land we're walking on, is flat. Then you'll have a globalist who will tell you earth is round because they're talking about the dome, which the flat earther agreed to. But then the globalist gets sucked into the flat earther conversation and end up talking about the land. So the whole conversation ends up being about the land within the earth. And then, like I said, the confusion amongst the word earth comes into play. Because now we got to talk about, is earth the actual turf, or is earth the element that before it becomes physical? So you see, the word earth plays a big part into this confusion. And then it all boils down to two separate groups trying to separate earth. You got one person trying to say, no, the land is earth, which is the flat earthers. And you have the globalists trying to say, no, this is earth, which they're talking about the dome, but they're not smart enough to understand that they're getting sucked into a conversation of talking about the lands. So I don't know where this fucking actual energy came from. You know what I'm saying? But both of y'all are truly being used as vessels. And you cannot take responsibility over something that sustains you. The earth is greater than you. So anytime you try to think you can sustain a tree or you can sustain earth or you can, these are things that's greater than you. You cannot take the responsibility. You cannot take the responsibility of something that's greater than you unless you want those problems, and you don't want those problems. Trust me, you'll live a life of frustration. That's not what you're here to do. So when we want to talk about now, and then this is another perspective to the flat earthers. How do you know scientists ain't talking about the dome when they say earth is round? How do you know they're not talking about the dome? So you see, you got a lot of talking past each other. Now, I'm going to go as far as to say this. Flat earthers worship the ground they walk on. They're earth worshippers. They're land. They're physical land worshippers. They're the ground that they walk on worshippers. Now, why do Archangel URIEL say that? I'm going to tell you. Now, this is when we start to get into why you need to understand the water cycles and things of that nature. Because if we was truly going towards the flat earth model, the way that you guys trying to present it, then there's really no reason why we should have a water cycle. There's no reason why the clouds shouldn't evaporate and keep evaporating. You see what I'm saying? What's making the clouds and the water come back down? If it's not a water cycle, aka circle. You can't get around it. A cycle is a circle. You know what I'm saying? Now when we talk about spirals, just because a spiral is spiraling this way, there's a spiral going this way, there's a spiral going this way, based upon our location within space, because we are around a bunch of other stars and planets that's in rotation. So this is how a spiral is even created to become. This is how you became out of a spiral of a rotation based upon what's relative to you. This is why you have relatives. You see what I'm saying? But we don't need to go that deep yet. You probably thinking right now like, damn, how's he correlating relatives with rotation based upon what's relative to your perspective of the position that you're in? Having relatives is just a lower physical reality of rotation. Trust me. It's just a lower frequency of what's relative to you. You see what I'm saying? And it plays out in many different vibrations. A low vibration of it is you actually having relatives. You see what I'm saying? But we ain't gonna go that deep yet. This is what I mean why the globalists and the flat earthers both are lost into the physical and lost into the word earth, and they're trying to separate earth, and they're talking past each other. The earth is flat and round. Now I'm gonna tell you, you don't really gotta believe me, but you are just a small speck within this large, shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas that consists of elements and things that it consists of. So as you being a smaller, shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas, your spirit, your conscious, you going through this travel, through this rotation, to sustain yourself through this travel, you have to transform and take on the elements and the rotation and the shape and form of the larger shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas. So as you living within it and sustaining yourself, you're constantly grabbing from the elements and building a body around yourself to sustain this travel until you develop enough to be able to move on through this travel. Now, within this location, this bigger orb, whatever like that, we know everything has a vibration, right? So based upon relative where this earth is at, this whole earth, we're not just separating it as this the land or this and the dome is something separate. We're calling all of it earth. Now, based upon its location, right, and all the other planets spinning around each other for us to all be a spiral, right, and have a center in the first place, right? It had to be a center to create another center, dude, or woman, or whoever out here who, globalists or flat earthers, right? Now, within this orb, everything deals with vibrations. So based upon what's relative to us, we can see what's up and down to us and what's left and right to us. So this is how we're going to perceive the vibrations. So within this orb, we got a high vibration and a low vibration. So since you got a ground to actually walk on, you know this is the lowest frequency vibrational part of this whole orb. You see what I'm saying? And then the higher you go, the less dense. So when you look at the sky, or what we want to call the dome, that's truly just a less dense version of the shit you walking on. Motherfucker. Like, I don't get why the flat earthers and the globalists is even debating anything. Y'all both right and y'all both wrong. It's a pointless argument. Now, this is why we got the water cycle, circle. You see what I'm saying? When you put something in a dryer, right? What does the dryer say? The spin cycle. When you look at the spin cycle, what's happening? It's going round. So just because it's going round. So look, when we look at a vibration, right? And the spiral from the center, right? And it vibrate up and it vibrate down, right? So the one that's down is coming into density, more physical. So you can actually walk on it. The spiral that's going up is less dense, less physical. so you can actually breathe it or scatter it or feel the mist of it. You know what I'm saying? But it's truly the same material. Because this orb, this big, shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas, which is a planet that you're in, consists of elements. And then you live within it. So within its vibration, you got the high dents of it and the low dents of it. So when it's the lower vibration, this is why you can see the water and the land that can touch it. And the high density of it, this is why you can see the clouds and you stay in between it. So if you really into Kemet or ancient astrology, like y'all claim y'all are and claim that other people ain't, right? Then you will realize when the sun appeared to be in your location and it's daytime relative to wherever you at, what you think is the sky is truly not the sky. The sun is just bouncing off the light off the shit that you're actually walking on. That's not the sky. The only time you truly see the sky is when it's nighttime relative where you're at. But if it's daytime, so quote unquote the sun is up, where, if you want to say the sun is up, quote unquote where the sun is located where you at, you see what I'm saying? The sun, that's not the sky. You think you're looking at the clouds and all that shit. All you seeing is a less dense, less physical version of the shit you walking on. And you walk, and it's getting ready to come back down, and more land gonna be created. And then when the planets and the energies that they carry, that's different from the planet we in and the stars, right? The energies based upon relative to us, right? Make more less dense of the shit that's old. You see what I'm saying? So it's constantly reproducing. The land that you on, you got old turf, that shit gets so old and dusty, right? It evaporates, go up. You see what I'm saying? Then the cycle comes back down. Now we got new land to walk on. And it's just constantly doing this cycle. So you're on the land because you're walking on the lowest vibrational frequency part of this orb we in. See, birds can see air. Birds see things in the air how we see it down here. You saying? There's actually walls and shit that birds cannot go through. They're in a less dense, less frequency vibration. You see what I'm saying? So they got if anybody see, humans understand this to a certain degree because this what enables us to create planes and airplanes and shit. So when you fly, if you ever been on an airplane, you know that the airplane has actual directions like if we was on the street. You know what I'm saying? The airplane not just flying reckless. The airplane have directions and has certain pathways. So birds are less dense than you, less physical, and they're in higher frequency because they know how to fly. Well, that's their nature, to fly. So they're less in vibration. So what it may be a certain mixture of elements up there that work in air in certain ways that'll feel like a wall to them. You see what I'm saying? Because things get more physical to them. Like, see, we're on the ground. It's the higher up, the less dense it is. So when a bird comes down on the ground, there's certain things that's more physical to them before they hit the ground than it is to us. You see what I'm saying? So wind dictates them. We're heavier than a bird. So air, wind doesn't dictate our path as much as them. This is why they're able to have, see, let's get into another video. But if you just understand nature and understand the world and not get so lost into competition and into words, and if you just look, all you got to do, this is why I even made an argument to even get into any debates, because it's really not even, it's just really, if you just learn the way humans or whatever life is supposed to learn, I don't even know why y'all call yourselves humans. Y'all are all stars, just smaller versions of it. And if you just understand that, you would just learn from the stars. This is why I say that your birthday don't even land on the same day every year. Pay attention to the degree. You know what I'm saying? Just because you was born August 12th, your birthday may be August 13th next year or August 14th. You see what I'm saying? Because of it's the specific degree. That's what you have to pay attention to. And the degrees, that's really more based upon like Vedic. That's why I say Vedic and Sidereal, that's the actual where everything is actually at, where the stars actually at, what time we actually in. This is why we could say like age of Aquarius or Aries is really in Pisces. Or see, this is the time that the Aries star constellation is experiencing. They're experiencing going through the Piscean time. The Taurus constellation, right, the times that they are in, they are experiencing the Aries time. You know what I'm saying? The Gemini constellation, the times that they are in, they are experiencing the Taurus time. You see, that's why I said I don't understand why people are arguing Vedic and Sidereal. They're Vedic and Western. They're two separate things. They're both helpful. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand both things and understand what they both mean to you. Then you will really understand like, oh, they're not against each other. They're two separate things. Vedic and Sidereal is about the times we in now. It's not about you. It's about this being that we're in and the time it's in. Then when we talk about Western, that's when we're talking about things relative to us on the earth. Now, this is more about you and how it appears to you. So you're smaller. You're not going to have the actual conscious awareness. You're not going to have the actual perception of the overall time we're in. You're just going to have the perception of the time you in best relative to you. So this is why we make up certain systems to understand how the time is relative to us. The best way we can correlate the smaller time. But we understand the bigger clock. That's why we're able to create a smaller clock for us. So we can create a system and an organization to keep things organized. For things don't be in chaos. You see what I'm saying? All this is given from the start. This is what they told us to do. So, all this flat earth, globalist, I didn't get into something else. I ain't mean to. But all this flat earth is pointless. Because it's a orb. It's an orb. And the land part is the bottom of the orb. You see what I'm saying? And then underneath that, it repeat the same thing. And then you have planets and things rotating beneath us and shit. And it's all a spiral. And if we're within it, we're within it. We're the molecules in between all this shit, and then you have the higher dense of it, and then you got the lower dense of it. And the land is the lower vibrational frequency of the orb we in. And the dome, or whatever y'all want to call it, is the higher frequency vibration of it. And then it has to have a round spiral type cycle within itself. So ultimately, I don't know, man. I feel like what I'm saying right now is pointless. That's how you know the whole energetic course of globalists versus flat earthers is pointless. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn, I'm gonna lay down for a second.